The great meeting hall on Nexus Prime buzzed with hundreds of different voices. Aliens from across the galaxy filled the massive chamber. Some had scales that glowed in the dim light. Others floated in tanks of purple gas. A few looked almost human, but their eyes were too big or their skin was the wrong color. Admiral Zethkar stood up from his seat. He was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. His voice echoed through the hall when he spoke. "I have a question that bothers me," he said. "Why has no one ever been inside human space? We have maps of every star system in the galaxy. We know where the dangerous nebulas are. We can find the hidden pirate bases, but human space, it might as well be invisible." The hall grew quiet. Everyone knew what he meant. Human space was like a big blank spot on all their maps. Ships went in, but they always came back out fast. No one ever stayed long enough to report what they found. Commander Lisa Grant sat in the human section. She was the only human in the whole building. Her brown hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a plain blue uniform with no fancy decorations. Next to all the exotic aliens around her, she looked very ordinary. "The humans must have some kind of superweapon," said Captain Thorax of the Insect Collective. His voice made a clicking sound when he talked. "Maybe they can destroy ships from very far away." No, argued Dr. Cynthia of the Machine Intelligence. Her metal body reflected the lights from the ceiling. "It has to be technology we don't understand. Perhaps they can make their ships invisible or bend space around their territory." Lisa listened and tried not to smile. She had heard these theories many times before. Ambassador Glurp of the Slime Federation made a wet bubbling sound. "My people think humans can read minds. They know when someone is coming before they even cross the border." "That's impossible," said General Krex of the Stone Warriors. His rocky skin made scraping noises when he moved. "Mind reading is just a myth. The humans probably have the best army in the galaxy. Their soldiers must be trained from birth to fight." More voices joined in. Each alien had a different idea about what made human space so hard to enter. They control time itself. They have weapons that can destroy entire fleets. They made a deal with ancient gods. They can turn invisible. Lisa shook her head slightly. "The real answer was much simpler than any of these wild guesses. Commander Grant," Admiral Zethkar said, looking directly at her. "Perhaps you could tell us the truth about your people's defenses." Every eye in the chamber turned to Lisa. Some of the aliens leaned forward in their seats. Others made nervous sounds. A few adjusted their translation devices to make sure they wouldn't miss a single word. Lisa stood up slowly. She was much shorter than most of the beings around her. Her voice was calm and steady when she spoke. "Human space is protected by natural barriers," she said. "We don't use superweapons or ancient technology. We just have good natural defenses." "What kind of natural barriers?" asked Dr. Cynthia. Her metal fingers tapped against her chair. "The kind that work very well," Lisa replied with a small smile. "Now, shall we discuss the trade agreements for next quarter? I believe the Merchant Guild has some new proposals." The aliens looked at each other with confusion. That was it? Natural barriers? What did that even mean? Admiral Zethkar tried again. "Commander Grant, surely you can give us more details. What exactly are these natural barriers?" Lisa picked up her datapad and scrolled through some files. "I'm afraid that information is classified for security reasons. However, I can tell you that no human colony has ever been successfully attacked by outside forces. Our defense record speaks for itself." "But how do you do it?" Captain Thorax clicked his mandibles together rapidly. "Other species have tried to copy your methods, but they always fail." "Every species has its own strengths," Lisa said. "Humans simply use what works best for us." The meeting moved on to other topics, but the aliens couldn't stop thinking about the human mystery. During the lunch break, small groups gathered to whisper among themselves. "She's definitely hiding something," said General Krex to a group of military officers from different worlds. "The question is what?" replied Colonel Vex of the Night Hunters. "And how dangerous is it to the rest of us?" Meanwhile, Lisa sat alone at a small table eating a simple sandwich she had brought from Earth. She watched the aliens form their worried little groups and felt sorry for them. They were trying so hard to understand something that wasn't really a mystery at all. Her communication device beeped softly. A message from Earth appeared on the screen. Another failed incursion attempt near Colony 7, read the report from Captain Jake Morrison. 3 alien ships turned back after 2 days. They claimed engine problems and navigation errors. No hostile action required. Lisa deleted the message and finished her sandwich. Outside the windows of Nexus Prime, thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds moved through space. All of them stayed far away from the areas marked as human territory on their star charts. She wondered what would happen if she told them the simple truth. Would they believe her? Or would they think she was lying to protect some terrible secret? Probably. Better to let them keep guessing. The truth was so ordinary that it might disappoint them. Krinth checked his equipment one more time. Everything looked perfect. His stealth ship was the best the Shadow Guild could build. His fake human appearance was flawless. His mission briefing was clear. Get into human space, find out their secrets, and report back. The payment for this job was enormous. Enough credits to buy his own planet. But Krinth was the best spy in the galaxy. If anyone could solve the human mystery, it was him. His ship slipped across the border into human territory, without any alarms going off. No patrol ships came to investigate. No warning signals appeared on his screens. It was almost too easy. Krinth picked a target from his intelligence files. New Denver was a small mining colony on the edge of human space. It had about 5,000 people and very few defenses. Perfect for his first infiltration attempt. The colony looked normal when he approached it. Simple buildings made of metal and plastic. Mining equipment scattered around the landing areas. Ships coming and going on regular schedules. Nothing seemed dangerous or unusual. Krinth landed his ship at the public docking area. A bored-looking human in coveralls walked over to greet him. "First time visiting New Denver?" the man asked. His name tag said Pete. "Yes," Krinth replied, using his best human accent. "I'm here on business." "Well, welcome to our little corner of space. Docking fee is 20 credits for the first day. You need anything special, just ask. We're pretty friendly folks around here." Krinth paid the fee and walked toward the colony buildings. This was easier than infiltrating a children's playground. Where were the guards? The security checks? The suspicious questions? At the main administration building, a woman with red hair smiled at him from behind a desk. "You must be our new visitor," she said. "I'm Amy Parker, colony administrator. We don't get many strangers out here. What brings you to New Denver?" "I'm a freelance trader," Krinth lied smoothly. "Looking for new business opportunities." "That's wonderful. We can always use more trade connections. Here, let me get you set up with temporary housing. Are you hungry? The cafeteria serves real coffee, not that synthetic stuff most places use." Amy handed him a key card and a small map of the colony. She explained where to find food, supplies, and entertainment. She even gave him her personal communication number, in case he needed help with anything. Krinth couldn't believe it. In most alien societies, strangers were watched carefully. Background checks were run. Security interviews were required. But these humans were treating him like a welcomed guest. "Is there anything I should know about local laws or customs?" he asked, fishing for information about security procedures. Amy laughed. "Just don't litter and try not to wake people up during sleep shift. We're pretty relaxed here. Oh, and if you're planning to visit the mines, wear a hard hat. Safety first." Krinth found his assigned room in the visitor housing block. It was clean, comfortable, and completely unmonitored. No cameras, no listening devices, no hidden sensors. He unpacked his spy equipment and started setting up surveillance gear. The first sign of trouble came when his quantum scanner refused to calibrate. The device worked perfectly during his equipment check just hours ago. Now it displayed error messages and strange readings. He tried his backup scanner. Same problem. The molecular analyzer also malfunctioned. Even his simple recording devices started acting up. "Must be some kind of interference," Krinth muttered. He made notes in his mission log and decided to try again later. The next morning, Amy invited him to breakfast in the colony cafeteria. The room was full of humans eating, talking, and laughing. They all seemed relaxed and happy. No one stared at the stranger or whispered suspicious comments. "How do you like our little colony so far?" Amy asked as they sat down with trays of food. "It's very peaceful," Krinth said. "Don't you worry about security? About outside threats?" "Out here?" Amy looked genuinely confused. "What kind of threats?" "The biggest danger we face is equipment breakdown. Last month our main coffee machine died and we nearly had a riot." She laughed at her own joke. Several other humans at nearby tables joined in the laughter. They started sharing stories about coffee emergencies and mechanical problems. Krinth listened with growing bewilderment. These people weren't acting like citizens of a militarized fortress. They were acting like ordinary colonists, living ordinary lives. Over the next few days, his equipment problems got worse. His energy cells drained much faster than they should. His communication gear produced nothing but static when he tried to contact his handlers. His DNA sampling devices corroded even though they were made from the finest alloy in the galaxy. Worse than the equipment failures, Krinth himself started feeling sick. It began with mild headaches and fatigue. Then came stomach problems and dizziness. By the fourth day, he could barely get out of bed. Dr. Sam Rodriguez examined him in the Colony Medical Center. The doctor was a middle-aged human with kind eyes and gentle hands. "You might be allergic to something in our environment," Sam explained, after running several tests. "It happens sometimes with off-world visitors. Your body chemistry might not agree with our atmospheric mix or gravity settings." "Is it dangerous?" Krinth asked weakly. "Probably not life-threatening, but you'll feel pretty awful until you adjust or leave. I can give you some medication to help with the symptoms. Make sure to drink lots of fluids and get plenty of rest." Sam prescribed some simple pills and advised Krinth to take it easy. The doctor seemed genuinely concerned about his patient's welfare. No hidden agenda, no probing questions, no suspicious behavior. By the end of the week, Krinth knew his mission was a failure. His equipment was completely useless. His fake identity was falling apart because he was too sick to maintain the act properly. Even his enhanced physiology couldn't handle whatever was affecting him. The worst part was that he still hadn't discovered any human secrets. The colonists continued to be friendly and helpful. They shared information freely, invited him to social events, and treated him like a neighbor. On his last night in New Denver, Amy stopped by his room to check on him. "Sorry you're not feeling better," she said. "Maybe the outer colonies aren't for everyone. Have you considered trying one of our inner worlds? The environment might be more comfortable there." "No, I think I need to go home," Krinth replied, honestly. "Well, you're always welcome back if you change your mind. Safe travels." Krinth packed his broken equipment and limped back to his ship. As soon as he left human space, his symptoms began to improve. His gear started working normally, again. Within hours, he felt completely healthy. He sent a coded message to his Shadow Guild contacts. "Mission failed. Human defenses too strong. Recommend extreme caution for future operations." But privately, Krinth wondered if he had actually encountered any defenses at all. General Thrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the star charts. His Storm Brigade was the finest military unit in the Dominion fleet. 300 elite warriors, each trained from childhood to fight and conquer. They had never failed a mission. "Today we find out what the humans are hiding," he announced to his officers. "Prepare for reconnaissance in force, full combat readiness." The fleet moved into human space like a spear thrust. Thrax expected immediate resistance. Patrol ships should have challenged them by now. Defense platforms should be powering up their weapons. Emergency signals should be flying between human bases. Instead, his communications officer looked confused. "Sir, we're receiving a standard traffic control message." "Traffic control?" Thrax growled. His scarred face twisted into a frown. "Yes, sir. They're directing us to visitor parking near Station Harmony. They're asking about the purpose of our visit and how long we plan to stay." Thrax had conquered 17 worlds. He had fought in the Battle of the Burning Nebula, He had personally killed enemy champions in single combat, but no one had ever asked him about parking. "Tell them we are a military reconnaissance force," he ordered. "They say welcome to human space and please follow the marked flight path to avoid commercial traffic." The Storm Brigade warriors looked at each other with confusion. This wasn't how invasions were supposed to work. Station Harmony was a large civilian facility orbiting a blue-green planet. Ships of all sizes docked at its many ports. The station looked peaceful and busy, not like a fortress preparing for war. Commander, Ben Clark met them at the main docking bay. He was a tall human with gray hair and laugh lines around his eyes. He wore a simple uniform with no weapons visible. "Welcome to Station Harmony," Ben said with a genuine smile. "I'm the station commander. We don't often see Dominion warships in this sector. What can we do for you?" General Thrax stepped forward in his full battle armor. His ceremonial sword hung at his side. His metals clinked when he moved. He was used to enemies cowering or attacking when they saw him. Ben just kept smiling and waited politely for an answer. "We are here to evaluate human military capabilities," Thrax said bluntly. "That's interesting. Are you thinking about joining one of our joint training programs? We work with several alien militaries on peaceful cooperation projects." "Jointy." "Training programs?" Thrax repeated slowly. "Sure, cultural exchange, shared tactical knowledge, that sort of thing. Would you like a tour of our facilities? We've got some fascinating exhibits on military history from different worlds." Before Thrax could respond, Ben was leading the group down a wide corridor. The walls were covered with artwork and displays showing various alien cultures. Everything looked friendly and educational. "This is our cultural center," Ben explained as they walked. "We believe understanding between species is the key to peace. Here's our section on Dominion history. Beautiful craftsmanship in those ancient weapons." Sergeant Korath, Thrax's second-in-command, stopped to look at a display case. Inside was a perfect replica of his grandfather's ceremonial spear. The information plaque described the weapon's history and cultural significance with respectful accuracy. "How do you know so much about our traditions?" Korath asked. "We study everyone we meet," Ben replied. "Understanding each other makes us all stronger. Would you like to see our library? We have an amazing collection of poetry from your homeworld." Poetry? Thrax felt like he was losing control of the situation. This was supposed to be a military operation, not a cultural tour. But his warriors seemed interested. They followed Ben deeper into the station, asking questions about the displays and exhibits. Some even took pictures with their personal devices. The tour lasted 3 hours. Ben showed them recreation areas, workshops, art galleries, and meeting rooms. Everything was open and welcoming. No restricted areas, no security checkpoints, no signs of hidden weapons. "Where are your defenses?" Thrax finally asked. "What kind of defenses?" Ben looked genuinely puzzled. "Weapons, shield generators, military installations. Oh, we have some basic safety systems for asteroid impacts and solar storms. But we're a civilian station. Our main job is helping travelers and supporting local colonies." That evening, Ben invited the entire Storm Brigade to a welcome dinner in the station's main dining hall. The humans had prepared foods from many different worlds, including traditional Dominion cuisine. Lieutenant Vex sat next to a human musician named Carol who was teaching him to play something called a guitar. The warrior's massive clawed hands struggled with the delicate strings, but he kept trying with determined concentration. Sergeant Korath found himself deep in conversation with a human poet named Frank. They discussed the similarities between Dominion war chants and human battle ballads. Korath even recited some verses from his favorite epic poems. General Thrax watched his elite warriors laughing, eating, and making friends with the humans. This wasn't how soldiers were supposed to behave in enemy territory. "Your people are very relaxed for civilians living on a military frontier," he commented to Ben. "Military frontier?" Ben laughed. "Station Harmony is about as peaceful as space gets. We mostly deal with trade disputes and maintenance requests. The most exciting thing that happened last month was when the artificial gravity failed in Section C. Over the following days, discipline in the Storm Brigade began breaking down. Warriors who should have been maintaining equipment started attending human cultural events instead. The weapons that made them feared across the galaxy sat neglected in storage. Korath spent his time in the station library, reading human literature and comparing it to Dominion classics. Vex organized music sessions, where warriors and humans played instruments together. Other soldiers joined human work crews, helping with station maintenance and repairs. The breaking point came when half his brigade submitted formal requests for extended cultural leave. These were elite warriors who had never shown interest in anything except fighting. Thrax tried to restore order by calling for weapons inspection. The results were shocking. Laser rifles that had worked perfectly for years now showed targeting errors. Energy cells drained too quickly. Even simple melee weapons seemed heavier and harder to use than before. Equipment degradation is within normal parameters, reported his chief technician. But the rate of failure is much higher than expected. It's like everything is wearing out faster than it should. Thrax made his decision. Prepare for immediate departure. All personnel return to ships. The announcement caused near mutiny. His warriors didn't want to leave. They had made friends, started projects, found interests they never knew they had. Some begged for permission to stay longer. This is a military operation, not a vacation, Thrax shouted. We are warriors of the Dominion Storm Brigade, not tourists. But, even as he said it, he wasn't sure he believed it anymore. His own ceremonial sword felt awkward in his hand. His armor seemed too heavy. For the first time in his career, he questioned whether being a warrior was the most important thing in the universe. As the fleet left human space, something strange happened. Equipment that had been failing suddenly worked perfectly again. Weapons systems came back online. Targeting computers recalibrated themselves. More disturbing, the warriors themselves seemed to snap back to their old selves. The interest in human culture faded. The new friendships felt like distant memories. Sir, Sergeant Korath reported, all systems are operating normally. Thrax looked at his second in command, the same scarred veteran who had been writing poetry just days ago. Now, Korath stood at attention like a proper soldier, showing no sign of his recent cultural interests. Prepare a full report for Dominion Command, Thrax ordered. Mark human space as unsuitable for military operations. He never filed a report explaining exactly why his elite brigade had been defeated by art galleries and dinner parties. The emergency session of the Galactic Council drew representatives from every major species in known space. The great chamber buzzed with nervous energy as aliens whispered among themselves. Finally, they would learn the truth about human space. Doctor. Quellan stood at the center of the hall, his crystalline form reflecting light in all directions. His research team had prepared detailed reports, holographic displays, and scientific data that would explain everything. Honored representatives, Dr. Quellan began. After months of intensive study, we have solved the mystery of human defensive capabilities. The chamber fell silent. Even the translator devices seemed to quiet down. Human space is not protected by superweapons, advanced technology, or ancient artifacts, he continued. It is protected by the most thorough environmental engineering project in galactic history. Admiral Zethkar leaned forward in his seat. Environmental engineering? What does that mean? Dr. Quellan activated a holographic display showing human territory. Red zones marked areas of environmental modification. For over 3 centuries, humans have been systematically altering their space to match their biological and technological requirements. They have terraformed worlds, adjusted atmospheric compositions, modified gravitational fields, and even changed the quantum background radiation throughout their territory. Confused murmurs rippled through the assembly. This wasn't what anyone had expected to hear. The result, Dr. Quellan continued, is a region of space perfectly optimized for human life and human technology. Other species cannot operate effectively within these modified areas because they are incompatible with non-human biology and equipment. Commander Lisa Grant had been sitting quietly in the human section, but now she stood up. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. Dr. Quellan is correct, she said in her calm, steady voice. We don't keep other species out of our space. We simply make our space so thoroughly human that nothing else works very well there. But why? Asked Ambassador Glurp of the Slime Federation. Why modify entire star systems? Lisa looked around the chamber at all the confused alien faces. How could she explain something so fundamentally human? Because we wanted to be comfortable, she said simply. When humans settle somewhere, we make it feel like home. We adjust the temperature, the air pressure, the gravity, the lighting, everything, until it feels right to us. General Krex of the Stone Warriors made a grinding sound with his rocky throat. You're saying your defensive barriers are just climate control? Climate control, yes, but also much more than that. We modify space itself to work better with our technology. We adjust quantum fields to improve our computers. We tune electromagnetic frequencies to help our communication systems. We even change the basic physics in small ways to make our equipment more reliable. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Aliens turned to their neighbors, speaking rapidly in dozens of different languages. Admiral Zethkar called for order. When the noise died down, he asked the question everyone was thinking. Are you planning to expand these modifications? To claim more territory? Lisa shrugged, a very human gesture that didn't translate well to most alien species. We have all the space we need right now. Our current territory supports about 50 billion humans very comfortably. If our population grows significantly, we might establish new colonies, but we're not interested in conquest or expansion for its own sake. What about other species who might want to live in human space? Asked Dr. Cynthia of the Crystal Mathematics Collective. They're welcome to visit, Lisa replied. But they usually don't stay long. Our environment isn't designed for non-human life. It would be like asking humans to live underwater or in a methane atmosphere. Technically possible with enough life support equipment, but not very comfortable. Captain Thorax of the Insect Collective clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. So the failed infiltration attempts, the military retreats, the equipment failures, all of this was caused by environmental incompatibility? That's correct. Your spies get sick because their enhanced biology can't handle our modified atmospheric compositions. Your warriors lose morale because they're surrounded by an environment that feels wrong to them on a psychological level. Your equipment fails because it wasn't designed to operate in our customized electromagnetic and quantum fields. The revelation sank in slowly. The greatest mystery in the galaxy had a completely mundane explanation. Humans weren't warriors or super scientists or ancient beings with mystical powers. They were just very good at making themselves comfortable. Dr. Quellen activated another display showing comparative data. To put this in perspective, he said, most species adapt themselves to their environment. Humans are unique in that they adapt their environment to themselves. They are the only species we know of that consistently terraforms on this scale. It's not terraforming, Lisa corrected gently. Terraforming implies making a planet Earth-like. We call it homeforming, making any environment comfortable for human habitation. Ambassador Glurp bubbled thoughtfully. This changes everything. We've been approaching human relations as a military or intelligence problem, but it's really a compatibility issue. The discussion continued for hours. Representatives asked detailed questions about human environmental modification techniques. Some species expressed interest in establishing buffer zones where they could interact with humans without entering the incompatible core regions of human space. The Mercantile Federation proposed building joint trading stations on the borders of human territory. The Scientific Consortium requested permission to study human homeforming techniques. Even the military representatives began talking about cooperation rather than confrontation. As the session ended, Admiral Zethkar made an official announcement. The Galactic Council formally recognizes human territorial sovereignty and acknowledges that human space is protected by environmental factors rather than hostile intent. We encourage all member species to establish peaceful relations with humanity, based on mutual respect and understanding. Lisa packed up her documents and prepared to leave. Several alien representatives approached her with questions about establishing formal diplomatic relations. Back on Earth, Captain Jake Morrison read the Council's announcement with satisfaction. He forwarded it to his superiors with a brief note. Problem solved. Human space now officially recognized as a natural barrier rather than a military threat. Later that day, 3 more alien ships crossed into human territory and turned back. Within hours, their crews reported the usual problems: equipment malfunctions, navigation errors, and unexplained illness among the crew. Jake filed another routine report. Failed incursion attempt. No hostile action required. Recommend standard medical support if crews request assistance. He poured himself a fresh cup of coffee and looked out his office window at the blue-green Earth spinning peacefully below. Somewhere out there, the galaxy's greatest minds were trying to figure out how to adapt to human-modified space. Jake smiled and went back to his paperwork. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new visitors, and probably more confused aliens wondering why their advanced technology didn't work properly in human space. The answer was simple. They weren't at home. But the humans were. Dr. Elena Vasquez received the message while drinking her morning coffee at the Human Colonial Research Institute. The Galactic Science Consortium wanted to fund a joint expedition to study the human space anomaly. They were offering unlimited research budgets and access to the finest scientific equipment in the galaxy. Elena smiled as she read the proposal. She had been waiting for this day for years. Finally, someone wanted to study the real science behind human space. This should be interesting, she told her assistant, Dr. Kevin Murphy. Send a reply accepting their offer. Tell them we'd be happy to host their research team. 2 months later, the research vessel Harmony arrived at human space with scientists from 12 different species. Dr. Quellen of the Ethereal Collective led the expedition. His people were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced science and logical minds. We appreciate your cooperation in this study, Dr. Quellen told Elena as his team set up their equipment. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The mystery of human space has puzzled our greatest minds for decades. What mystery is that? Elena asked innocently. Dr. Quellen's crystalline form shifted colors slightly, showing his confusion. The defensive barriers, of course. The unknown technology that prevents other species from operating successfully in your territory. Oh, that mystery. Elena nodded seriously. Yes, I can see how that would be puzzling. Please feel free to study whatever you need to study. The alien scientists threw themselves into their work with enthusiasm. They had brought scanning devices that could analyze matter at the quantum level, computers that could process millions of calculations per second, sensors that could detect energy signatures from across star systems. Dr. Quellen started by examining human technology. Surely the secret lay in some advanced system beyond galactic understanding. The results confused him completely. Human ships used simple fusion engines instead of the quantum tunneling drives common throughout the galaxy. Their weapons were basic laser and projectile systems that any species could build. Their computers were massive, inefficient machines that required constant maintenance. This doesn't make sense, Dr. Quellen told his research team. Human technology is actually quite primitive compared to galactic standards. There's nothing here that could create the defensive effects we've observed. Dr. Zix of the Machine Collective ran detailed scans of human space itself. Perhaps the secret was in the environment rather than the technology. I'm detecting unusual atmospheric compositions, she reported. Oxygen levels are higher than galactic standard. Nitrogen ratios are adjusted. Even the trace gases are different from what we'd expect in natural space. Terraforming, Elena explained when asked about the readings. We modify our environment to be comfortable for human life. But these modifications are everywhere, Dr. Zix protested. Every human colony, every space station, even the space between worlds shows signs of environmental engineering. Well, yes, we like things to be comfortable. Dr. Glim of the Aquatic Research Foundation studied the quantum background radiation throughout human space. What he found made no sense according to everything he knew about physics. The quantum foam has been altered, he bubbled excitedly. The basic structure of space-time shows signs of manipulation, but not through any technology we recognize. Elena looked at his data with interest. That's from our terraforming equipment. We've been using quantum field generators for environmental control since the early colonial period. For how long? Dr. Glim asked. About 300 years, give or take. The scientist stared at her in shock. 3 centuries of continuous environmental modification? No other species in the galaxy had ever attempted anything on such a scale. Doctor? Quellen expanded his investigation to include the humans themselves. Perhaps they had been genetically modified to produce some kind of defensive field. Human DNA turned out to be disappointingly normal. No hidden organs, no exotic chromosomes, no signs of artificial enhancement. If anything, humans seemed less genetically advanced than most galactic species. But then Dr. Cynthia of the Crystal Mathematics Collective made a disturbing discovery. She had been running probability calculations on equipment failure rates throughout the expedition. The failure patterns are not random, she announced to the research team. Our equipment works perfectly outside human space. Inside human territory, failure rates increase exponentially based on distance from human-inhabited areas. Dr. Quellen checked his own data. Sure enough, his most sensitive instruments had been malfunctioning more frequently as they moved deeper into human space. Devices that should have worked for years were breaking down after days or weeks. It's not sabotage, Dr. Cynthia continued. The equipment isn't being attacked or interfered with. It's simply incompatible with the local environment. Elena watched the alien scientists work with growing amusement. They were getting close to the truth, but they kept looking for complicated explanations when the answer was beautifully simple. Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Quellen said during their weekly progress meeting, we need to ask you some direct questions. What exactly have your people done to this region of space? We've made ourselves at home, Elena replied. But specifically, what modifications have you made? Elena pulled up a holographic display showing the local star systems. Red dots marked human colonies, space stations, and industrial facilities. We've terraformed 47 worlds to Earth-normal atmospheric conditions, she began. We've established environmental control fields around all major shipping routes to maintain comfortable conditions for our crews. We've built 17 different types of space habitats, each optimized for specific types of human activity. She highlighted different areas on the map as she spoke. We've standardized gravity to Earth normal throughout our space using gravitational field generators. We've adjusted the electromagnetic spectrum in most star systems to reduce harmful radiation. We've even modified the quantum background to improve the reliability of our computers and communication systems. The alien scientists listened with growing amazement and horror. You've modified entire star systems? Dr. Glim asked weakly. Just the parts we use regularly. We're not wasteful about it. Dr. Quellen's crystalline form flickered through several colors rapidly, indicating extreme agitation. Do you understand what you've done? You've created an environment so specifically adapted to human needs that other species literally cannot function within it. Elena nodded. Is that a problem? Your equipment failures, our biological incompatibilities, even the psychological effects reported by military units, it's all because human space has been optimized for humans and only humans. That was sort of the point, Elena said gently. We wanted to be comfortable. Dr. Cynthia ran a final calculation and looked up from her computer with something resembling shock. The defensive barrier around human space isn't a weapon or a shield, she announced. It's a perfect example of environmental engineering. No other species can operate effectively here because this space has been transformed into an extension of the human homeworld. Elena smiled and poured herself another cup of coffee from the thermal carafe she always carried. Would anyone like some coffee? She offered. It's a mild earth blend, very soothing. All the alien scientists declined. They had learned that human food and drink could be just as incompatible with their systems as everything else in human space.